6 minutes ago, a machine the size of a small car finished photographing a patch of sky in the Chilean mountains, and by the time it processed the image, it had already triggered part of a queue of 7 million alerts generated that single night. Somewhere buried inside that same data sits a star that may have died without ever exploding, an asteroid spinning nearly 5 times faster than physics allows, and a visitor from another solar system that slipped past Earth for 10 days before anyone noticed it was even there. None of that is the strangest thing waiting for you today. Astronomers have spent decades quietly cataloging objects across the universe that break the rules we thought were fixed. A black hole too big to have formed in time, a ring-shaped galaxy that looks engineered, a signal from deep space still unexplained after 17 years. Join us and let's discover the objects that are breaking the laws of physics. Let's go.
Topic number 13. Vera Rubin Observatory. 7 million alerts. That is how many changes to the night sky this single machine now flags every night. More information than any team of human astronomers could process in real time. On June 30th, 2026, after 25 years of construction and delay, the Vera Rubin Observatory switched on its real 10-year mission in the Chilean mountains, photographing the entire visible southern sky every 3 to 4 nights and comparing each image to the last. Picture every person in a mid-sized city texting you at the exact same moment every single night for the next decade. That is the scale researchers at SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory are now sorting through. A year before the official start, using only 10 hours of test observations across 7 nights, the machine had already produced a single image containing roughly 10 million galaxies. Buried inside it was a stellar stream stretching an estimated 163,000 light-years, torn from the galaxy Messier 61, longer than the diameter of our entire Milky Way, sitting undetected until this machine finally had the depth to notice it. Every telescope before this one worked like a photographer, one subject, one shot, frozen forever. This one remembers what the sky looked like yesterday, so it can catch what changed today. And it has already caught something spinning faster than a rubble pile should ever survive.
Topic number 12. 2025 MN45. Less than 2 minutes. That is how long it takes an asteroid the size of a skyscraper to spin completely around. A rotation speed so extreme that astronomers first assumed their instruments had made an error. According to a peer-reviewed study published in the astrophysical journal Letters in January 2026, 2025 MN45 measures about 710 meters across, nearly twice the height of the Empire State Building, completing a full rotation once every 1.88 minutes. Most asteroids that size are rubble piles, loose collections of rock and dust held together by nothing more than weak gravity, like a gravel heap barely clinging to itself in space. Spinning that fast should tear one apart, scattering debris across the solar system. Co-author Dmitry Vavillo of the University of Washington said plainly that nobody expected to find an object this size spinning nearly 5 times faster than the previous record. The leading theory is that this rock is a surviving fragment of the dense, superheated core of a much larger planetary body, destroyed in a violent collision billions of years ago, meaning this asteroid may be a piece of a planet that no longer exists. It was not alone. The same dataset flagged 18 more fast rotators nearby, all found during a stretch test months before the real mission began, which raises an uncomfortable question about how many more impossible objects are sitting untouched in that same archive, waiting on a completely different kind of anomaly, one that arrived from outside our solar system entirely and left before anyone could properly study it.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Topic number 11. Oumuamua. It accelerated when nothing should have made it accelerate. On October 19, 2017, A telescope in Hawaii caught a sliver of light tumbling through our solar system on a trajectory no local comet or asteroid could ever follow. It was shaped like a cigar, or possibly flat like a pancake, tumbling end over end every 8 hours, and it had no visible tail, no cloud of gas or dust, the signature every comet leaves behind. As it swung past the sun and headed back toward interstellar space, it sped up in a way gravity alone could not account for. Astronomers checked for outgassing too faint to photograph, checked for measurement error, checked for anything ordinary that could explain the acceleration, and nothing fit cleanly. A team from Harvard raised the possibility of a thin, light-driven sail, an idea most scientists rejected but could never fully rule out. Within roughly 11 days, it was already too dim to study, gone before humanity could gather enough data to settle the question. Imagine a stranger walking through your living room for 11 seconds and vanishing out the front door before you can ask their name, except this stranger came from another star system, and every explanation for its behavior remains, technically, unproven. Years later, a second visitor would not simply be spotted in real time. It would be found hiding in plain sight inside a machine that had already photographed it and moved on.
Topic number 10. Betelgeuse. One of the brightest stars in the night sky nearly vanished, and for a moment, astronomers thought they were about to witness a supernova live. In late 2019, Betelgeuse, the red supergiant marking Orion's shoulder, dimmed by more than a full magnitude within weeks, the sharpest drop ever recorded for the star. A star that massive, that close to the end of its life, only dims that dramatically for one of two reasons, and one of them is core collapse. Betelgeuse sits roughly 700 light-years away, close enough that if it exploded, the blast would be visible in broad daylight and bright enough to cast shadows at night for weeks. Observatories quietly began drafting alert protocols in case it happened in real time. Then, just as suddenly, the star began brightening again. Follow-up studies using the Hubble Space Telescope pointed to a massive ejection of surface material that cooled into a dust cloud, temporarily blocking the star's light, the way smoke can hide a bonfire without putting it out. The star had thrown off a piece of itself, not its life. But Betelgeuse is still in the final stage of its existence, still capable of collapsing on a timeline nobody can predict to the decade or even the century. And the method astronomers now use to search for a star that skips the explosion altogether was about to find its first real candidate in a galaxy over 2 million light-years away.
Topic number 9. TON 618. 66 billion. That is roughly how many times the mass of our sun is packed into a single object at the center of a galaxy 10 billion light-years away. TON 618 is classified as a hyperluminous quasar, and at its heart sits one of the largest black holes ever measured. To grasp that number, picture our entire solar system, the sun and every planet, shrunk down to a single grain of sand. TON 618 would still outweigh that grain by tens of billions of times over. Its event horizon, the point past which nothing escapes, not even light, spans a region roughly 40 times wider than Neptune's orbit around our sun. Material spiraling toward it heats to temperatures hot enough to outshine entire galaxies combined, the only reason something this distant is visible to us at all. Scientists still do not agree on how a black hole reaches that scale within the age of the universe. Standard models of gradual feeding over billions of years struggle to explain objects this massive appearing this early in cosmic history. Some researchers argue there must be a faster formation pathway, a direct collapse of enormous gas clouds skipping the stellar stage entirely. If that is true, our own galaxy may be hiding a much smaller version of the exact same process, close enough that humanity has already managed to photograph it directly.
Topic number 8. Sagittarius A star. A dark, uneven ring of glowing gas wrapped around a shadow at the exact center of our own galaxy is the first image humanity has ever captured of the object that has been quietly controlling the orbit of every star near it for millions of years. In May 2022,
The Event Horizon Telescope collaboration released that image of Sagittarius A star, a black hole containing a mass equivalent to about 4 million suns, compressed into a region smaller than the orbit of Mercury. Capturing it required linking radio dishes across the entire planet, from Antarctica to Hawaii, effectively turning Earth itself into one enormous telescope lens. The gas swirling around it completes an orbit in minutes rather than years, moving so fast that the image had to be reconstructed from thousands of rapidly shifting snapshots, the way you might average dozens of blurry photos of a running child to finally see their face clearly. What genuinely surprised researchers was the asymmetry, one side of the ring noticeably brighter than the other, a pattern predicted by the physics of a spinning black hole, but never visually confirmed until that moment. Every star visible in the night sky, every planet, every person who has ever lived orbits within gravitational reach of this object. And every discovery covered so far, the spinning fragments, the visitor with no explanation, the star that flickered and lived, is about to be reframed by one star that did not survive its ending at all.
Topic number 7. Tabby's star. A single star dimmed by 22%, and instead of finding a natural cause, astronomers found a list of explanations that kept failing one by one. In 2015, data from the Kepler Space Telescope showed the star, officially named KIC 8462852, losing nearly a quarter of its brightness in irregular, asymmetrical dips, far too deep and unpredictable to be caused by an orbiting planet, which typically blocks less than 1% of a star's light in a smooth, repeating rhythm. Citizen scientists sifting through the raw data flagged it as anomalous before professional researchers took a closer look. A cloud of comet fragments was tested and did not fit cleanly. A disintegrating planet was tested and did not fit cleanly. Instrument error was ruled out entirely. One hypothesis, raised seriously in peer-reviewed discussion rather than dismissed outright, proposed a vast artificial structure built to capture the star's own light, something closer to engineering than astrophysics. Later studies leaned toward an uneven field of orbiting dust, but the irregular pattern itself was never resolved to full agreement, which means the possibility, however unlikely, was never formally closed either. Everything up to this point has been extreme but explainable. What comes next stops behaving like a star or a black hole entirely and starts looking like a ring drawn with a compass.
Topic number 6. Hoag's object. A galaxy that looks like it was drawn with a compass sits roughly 600 million light-years away, and nobody can fully explain how gravity built it that way. Hoag's object consists of a nearly perfect sphere of old yellow stars at its core, surrounded by a crisp, almost mathematically even ring of young blue stars, with a gap of empty space separating the two. Most galaxies are messy, lopsided spirals or elongated ellipticals, shaped by billions of years of collisions and gravitational chaos. This one looks engineered by comparison. Astronomers have proposed a galactic collision billions of years ago that stripped material into a ring, or an unstable bar structure that eventually dissolved, leaving the symmetry behind, and neither has been confirmed. Deep imaging reveals a second, smaller ring-shaped structure in the gap between the core and the outer ring, one some researchers believe is a background galaxy seen through empty space, and others suspect is evidence of an entirely separate ring formation event layered on top of the first. So rare is this shape that astronomers describe finding another true example as harder than finding one specific grain of sand on an entire beach. And more than 50 years before anyone photographed this galaxy clearly, a completely different kind of signal was already sitting in archived data, waiting 17 years to even be noticed.
Topic number 5. Lorimer burst. More energy than our sun produces in an entire month,
released in under 5 milliseconds, and then gone completely. In 2007, while sifting through archival radio telescope data recorded years earlier, astronomer Duncan Lorimer noticed exactly that signal buried in the noise. It carried a specific kind of frequency spreading called dispersion, a pattern that only occurs when radio waves travel across enormous distances through the thin gas scattered between galaxies, proving the burst had come from outside our own galaxy entirely. For years afterward, some researchers publicly wondered whether it was a glitch in the telescope's own equipment rather than a genuine cosmic signal, until identical bursts started turning up independently in datasets from other instruments. Thousands of fast radio bursts have since been cataloged, some flashing once and disappearing forever, others repeating from the exact same point in the sky on no predictable schedule, like a doorbell rung by someone who occasionally comes back and rings it again. Leading theories point toward magnetars, a rare type of neutron star with a magnetic field trillions of times stronger than anything producible on Earth. But the repeating ones resist a single clean explanation. If a star's magnetic field alone can fire a signal across galaxies, the same kind of extreme gravity is currently doing something even stranger, close enough to be watched in real time, to a planet still orbiting its star.
Topic number 4. WASP-12b. A planet is being eaten alive by its own star, and astronomers are watching it happen in real time. WASP-12b orbits so closely that a full year there lasts just over 1 Earth day, close enough that the star's gravity has stretched the planet into an egg shape rather than a sphere. Surface temperatures reach around 2,500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize rock directly into gas, and that vaporized material does not simply drift away. It streams off the planet in a visible trail, funneled by gravity directly into the star's surface, like water spiraling down a drain, except the water is superheated planetary matter, and the drain is a star roughly the size of our Sun. Researchers using the Hubble Space Telescope confirmed the planet is losing mass at a rate that leaves it with only a few million years remaining, an eye blink compared to the billions of years most planets survive. What makes WASP-12b valuable to scientists is that it offers a live preview of planetary death rather than a theoretical model, a process normally far too slow to observe directly in front of an instrument. Exactly how the final stage plays out from Earth remains unknown, in the same way an entire planet has been hiding, unseen and unphotographed, at the far edge of our own solar system.
Topic number 3. Planet 9. A cluster of icy objects beyond Neptune share an orbital alignment that should not exist by random chance, and the only explanation that fits requires a planet nobody has ever seen. Their orbits tilt in the same direction, stretch into similar shapes, and cluster together as though something massive and unseen is gravitationally herding them into formation. Researchers Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown, Caltech, first proposed in 2016 that the simplest explanation is a planet roughly 5 to 10 times the mass of Earth, orbiting so far out that a single year there could last between 10,000 and 20,000 Earth years. No telescope has photographed it. Every scientist arguing for its existence works entirely from indirect evidence, the herding pattern in those distant icy objects, the same way Vera Rubin herself once inferred dark matter from the way galaxies spun, rather than from ever seeing it directly. Skeptics argue the clustering could be a statistical fluke, or a bias created by which parts of the sky astronomers happen to search most thoroughly. The Vera Rubin Observatory's 10-year full sky survey is considered one of the best tools ever built to finally settle it, either photographing a faint, slow-moving point of light nobody has cataloged, or proving there is nothing there at all. And that same machine had already caught something else invisible, 10 full days before any other telescope on Earth realized it existed.
10 days. That is how long an interstellar comet sat quietly inside the Vera Rubin Observatory's own archive before anyone realized it was there. On July 1, 2025, a separate telescope network called ATLAS announced the discovery of this object, only the third confirmed visitor from outside our solar system ever recorded. When astronomers went back and checked Rubin's archived data afterward, they found the machine had already photographed it 10 full days earlier, sitting unnoticed simply because nobody had compared those specific images yet. Astrophysicist Rosemary Dorsey of the University of Helsinki said scientists genuinely do not know how many more interstellar visitors Rubin might catch once its full survey runs at capacity, estimating the number could fall anywhere between 5 and 500 over the coming decade, a range so wide it reveals how little is actually known about how often objects like this pass through our neighborhood. A machine capable of retroactively noticing a visitor from another star system simply by comparing photographs nobody had bothered to check yet raises an uncomfortable question about everything else sitting untouched in that same archive. And one candidate already flagged inside it is not a visitor passing through. It is a star that may have vanished entirely without ever announcing that it was leaving.
The Andromeda failed supernova candidate. A massive star in the Andromeda galaxy may have collapsed directly into a black hole, without a single flash, without a single blast, without any warning at all. And the only evidence anyone has is the fact that it is simply gone. According to research published in the journal Science in February 2026, astronomers pinpointed this candidate roughly 2.5 million light-years from Earth, a star that once occupied a specific point of light in the sky and now occupies nothing. Most massive stars die violently, exploding outward with enough force to briefly outshine an entire galaxy, loud and impossible to miss. This one did the opposite, folding inward on itself in complete silence. Stephen Smart of the University of Oxford, who leads the science team behind one of Rubin's key alert systems, said the observatory is uniquely positioned to catch more of these events because its images reach roughly 100 times fainter than other sky surveys, deep enough to notice the kind of quiet stellar death every previous survey on Earth was simply too weak to see. If this candidate is confirmed, it becomes direct evidence that some of the universe's most massive stars are collapsing into black holes constantly, with zero warning, which means there may be vastly more black holes scattered across the cosmos than anyone has ever counted, sitting in the dark right now, waiting for a machine sensitive enough to finally notice they are gone.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.